Hello, beautiful Girl Awakening podcast listeners. I am Em. Thank you for having me here. I'm so grateful I can be a part of this beautiful offering. If you guys haven't already listened to my episode, I'm an astrologer and I am really passionate about helping women step into their power and just remind them of how fucking important they are, and to help them stop playing small. And I guess like where I've come from and what's evolved since being on the podcast, I've really stepped more into my astrology side of things and really stepping into that business, and it's going really well. And yeah, I'm just super grateful for all of the support I've had along the way, and grateful that I can just help and support people and guide them to, understand their truest nature and their soul's blueprint, and just help them to start living a life that is just fully aligned energetically and astrologically. So that is what I'm super passionate about. That's what I've been up to since my podcast interview. And obviously I've been on the podcast a few more times and shared with you guys a few things about the astrological weather and what's been coming up. So I'm so blessed and grateful that I can also share that too. So yeah, I guess today my little offering for you, which I think will be really, really important to go alongside any of the other astrological episodes that I do share with you, whether it be on that podcast or I've got a podcast myself, but it's going to be super, super important for you to actually know how to pull up your chart, what your chart is, and how you can actually start to look and track things. Like when I'm telling you, Mercury is in Capricorn, for instance, you can then, and I say look to what house that's in, I'm going to show you exactly how to sort of interpret that, and you can just get a little bit of a basic understanding from there. So I'm just going to share my screen. So I'm going to show you all of the steps to pull up your chart and how you can best start to break down this. Okay, so what you are going to do to start off, you're going to head over to astro.com. Now, there are plenty of other astrology chart calculators. I just find this one's the easiest, cleanest to look at. Now, you'll see here that I've already got a user profile, but when you first come on, you'll have these two options. So if you want to just look it up for yourself, you can just do a guest user. Or what I do suggest is actually just create the free profile, because then you can put in not only yourself, like if you've got kids, partners, you can put everyone's thing and you can just log in and it'll all be there, and you can just pull up their chart so you can see exactly what's going on. So yeah, go through that little process first. And then I'm just going to log into my profile because I've got some charts and some details in here. So I'll show you exactly once you get in here. So you'll create your own profile. And now obviously I've got quite a few people's charts in here. What you will then do as you get to that, you're going to go create new astro data. And so you're just going to simply fill in the form. So let's just make up a person. Let's just say they're Ella. Yep, sure, Cormack will do. Let's say they're female. Let's say that their birthday is the 11th of January, 1986. Let's go with 3 a.m. So obviously you're going to make this your own birth data. Now, when it comes to time really actually is pretty important when we're looking at things like the house position. Apologies if that truck comes through. I'm recording outdoors today. But the timing actually does matter quite a fair bit. So if you can, try to be as specific as you can. If you have no clue or no idea about the timing, just put 12 p.m. And then just see what brings up how that chart comes about. You can play around with this a little bit and say, have a look at 3 points, look at 12:01 a.m., 12 p.m. and 11:59 p.m. and just see how much shifts and changes within any planets or placements. That kind of gets a little bit technical, and I guess worst case scenario, just go with 12 o'clock midday. That will give you the most broadest understanding of your chart. Okay, so just wanted to preface that before we go through the nooks and crannies of a chart. So I don't know whether that's almost. All right, let's just say Palm Beach instead. Okay, Palm Beach. Okay, so we're going to continue. So now we'll see that will have come into my library down the bottom here. So then once that happens, we're going to click onto here. Now you're going to get another page and we're going to do an extended chart selection. So you're going to click into that one. And you're going to notice there's going to be a couple of little drop-down boxes. So they might already be like this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come here. Now, I read from the whole sign system. So this will default to either Placidus or default system. So if you just come to this little drop-down thing and click whole signs, then that way you've got, it's just really easier to understand. You shouldn't have to change any other settings. And then we should be able to go show the chart. And then our beautiful chart has now come up. So as you can see, this is an interesting chart. So this is essentially what the map of your chart looks like. I'm just going to get rid of this here. So this is what a birth chart looks like. So as we break this down, once you've kind of got this, I'm going to show you a few places that you want to make sure that you're aware of and that you know. So the first is your sun sign. So the sun is this little guy here. He is the little circle with a circle in the middle. That's the sun. And I think the easiest way for me to explain this as we go is I'm just going to do a quick walk around of each of what the glyphs are. The beauty with astro.com is that all of the glyphs look the same in every chart. So once I go through this once, you can then refer back to that to kind of see what the glyphs are. If you are having troubles with this, and I might even just suggest to the girls, I might do a little cheat sheet that actually has the symbols so that you don't have to keep going back and forth. So you've got that handy, so you can just have that as a little download of what symbols represent each of the zodiac signs and each of the planets and signs. So I will accompany that. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to break down this for you. So this is the sun, okay? This one is the moon. This is Jupiter. So Jupiter looks like the kind of 4. This is the North Node. This is Chiron. This is your midheaven or your MC. This is Pluto. Okay, there's going to be a train coming past, so hopefully that's not picking up too much on the microphone. This is Mars. This is Saturn. This is Uranus. AC is your rising sign or ascendant, it's also known as. This one is Neptune. This is Mercury. And this one is Venus. Okay, so they're all the planets. Now let's look at the signs. So the signs are the ones on the outside. So this arrow is Sagittarius. So this person is Sagittarius rising. This one is Capricorn. This one is Aquarius. And you'll see as we go through, it actually goes around the same zodiac wheel, like all of the signs follow each other. So normally a traditional zodiac sign starts with or zodiac season or year starts with Aries. So that's where we have our proper astrological New Year start, which is mostly the middle of March, 20-something of March is when the astrological New Year officially starts. So Aries normally starts that. But I feel like I'm kind of going backwards and forwards here. So I hope you can keep up. Astrology is actually quite a complex thing, but I want to break this down and make it really simple for you guys to understand. So I'm really going to just do my best to break it down as simply and as easily as I can. So that you can literally go, okay, yep, I know which house this is activating and I know what's happening. All right, so where were we? So that one's Capricorn. This is Aquarius. This is Pisces. That one is Aries. This is Taurus. This is Gemini. This one is Cancer. That is Leo. This is Virgo. That is Libra. And that is Scorpio. So they are all of the zodiac signs. So as you can see, everyone's chart has all of the zodiac signs within it. However, you can see here, some of these don't have any planets in any of these ones. Okay. Doesn't mean that they don't have any Piscean or Aries or Cancer or Libran energy. It just means that when we have things that we call transits, which is the current position of the stars and the planets, they may come along and they may activate parts of your chart. So that's what we're going to get into shortly. But I just want to give you the the kind of breakdown overall of the chart and what that looks like. And yes, it looks complex to layer this all together. Yes, it does take many years to study and to learn this. However, just as a really practical take-home thing, I think you guys are going to love this, and I'm going to show you exactly, how you can, track these planets that are moving around the zodiac and what's being activated for you. So, for instance, we just had a Gemini full moon the other day. So this person in particular, the Gemini full moon was hitting in their 7th house. And so their Chiron was being activated. And so that's how you would know how or what it is. So you look to where Gemini is. So, if Mercury is in Cancer, that would be activating their 8th house. Okay. And then, of course, each of the houses represent a certain area and aspects of life as well. So I'm going to talk you through those in a moment. But where am I going to go next? Let's go with the houses. So as you can see here, using this whole sign system, as we did at the start of the video, clicking into the settings and getting this up into whole sign, each of these houses are now from 0 degrees to 29 degrees. So they're nice and equal the whole way around the wheel. Okay. And so this is obviously these little markings in the middle. So this is the first house, this little piece of pie, and that's Sagittarius. The second house is Capricorn. Okay. The third house is Aquarius, and so on and so forth the whole way around that zodiac wheel. Okay. So they are the houses. And so each of the planets are expressed in a certain house, expressed in a certain way. And same with what sign is expressing through that house also expresses in its own way. There are so many different layers to astrology, and I'm not going to go too deep with you here in this, but I basically just want to give you, that really practical way in which you can kind of go, yep, pull up my chart. I know what's being activated. This is what's going to happen. This is where it's going to hit me. So when we're talking about house 1 or the first house, now the first house, everyone's rising sign or AC is always going to be in the first house when we use the whole sign system. Okay, so you will always have and start with your rising sign. So that will always occupy the first house, the AC. So you might not have any other planets, and you might just have your AC. And other people may have more planets, like this person or this makeup chart that I've just done. So that is where the AC or the rising will always sit in that first house. Now, the first house represents our body. It represents our self-expression. The rising sign is our outward mask that people see us as first contact. So, when you have an interaction with a stranger, you normally get their rising sign personality traits starting to come through because that's their outward thing. Of course, if they have something that might be concealing that, that's a different story. But just as a general thing, we normally come into contact with people's rising signs first, and that's their first impression of a person. So for me, for instance, I am a Leo rising. And so the first impressions people have of me is that I'm quite outgoing, I'm quite warm, I'm quite bubbly. I like to kind of take the spotlight. I like to sort of be in charge, be a bit of a leader. So they're the sort of first things that people come across when they see me. As a Leo rising, that is. So that is what the first house represents. Now, the second house, this is our money house. And so this house is naturally ruled by Taurus. However, you can see in this person's chart that Capricorn is ruling their second house here. So as a second house, this is ruling our money, our finances, our values, our possessions, our worth, what we deem valuable, what we're wanting to put energy towards, anything related to those themes is all of the second house. Now, the third house is ruled by Gemini, and the third house is all about communication, our mental activity, our mental and cerebral processing, our logical thinking is ruled by the third house. The third house also is about short travel and trips. So when you have something that activates your third house, you might then go, oh, I really want to go away just for a weekend trip or what have you. That can happen as well as part of that third house. So some of these have, really kind of fixed things relating to ourselves and also external things that is like travel or home and family, for instance, as we start to continue to move around. So that's the third house, and that one's ruled by Gemini. Now, the fourth house is ruled by Cancer naturally, and that is all about home and family. So this is where your private life, your home, your family, where you want to go to retreat, where you want to have your downtime. It's about where you've come from, your roots are here. So the fourth house also is that kind of motherly, nurturing energy. It has that aspect to it as well. The fifth house is our creative expression house. It's the house of sex. It's the house of children. So if I was looking for someone to look at potential, if they were looking to have children in the future, I would be looking at this fifth house and seeing what's being activated or what might be transiting to, create pregnancies and things like that. That's where the predictions and astrology does get a little bit tricky. And I am by no means adept at really forecasting and predicting things like that. There are definitely some things that can indicate possible, pregnancies and childbirth and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not going to go into that with you today. That's kind of very advanced level astrology. So the fifth house, all about creative expression, children, the house of sex. It's really where we want to, our leadership, it's our leadership house. And that's ruled by Leo, naturally. Then we come along to the sixth house, and the sixth house is ruled by, the sixth house is ruled by Virgo. And Virgo is, and the sixth house is representing of our health, our day-to-day routines and rituals, our work, our daily work, any things and themes related to health and well-being are all within this house. It's the house of service. So, when you have something coming in activating this part of your chart, it might mean that you're like, oh, I think I'm actually feeling really called to do a health kick, or, I really need to shake up my routines. Again, depending on what is activating that, will obviously determine how that plays out for you. The seventh house is our relationship house. And this is our relationships that we're talking about, our really close, intimate relationships. Marriage is ruled by the seventh house. It's all the house of justice and fairness. It's where we find our balance. So the seventh house is here, and always as well in whole signs, the seventh house will always have what we call our descendant. Now, our descendant is where we've kind of come from, or it's the part of the chart that's the darkest part of the chart. So the rising sign actually represents what sign was rising at the time of your birth. So what sign was rising on the horizon, and then the descendant is what sign was setting. So it's kind of like this beautiful synastry of where we've been, where we're comfortable, what our comfortability is the descendant. Okay, and that's this little one here. It doesn't actually have a marking point, just a little blue line. You'll see that, which will be directly opposite the rising. And then we come to the eighth house. Now, the eighth house is ruled by Scorpio. The eighth house is all about sex, drugs, rock and roll, taboo topics. It's the house of death, transformation. It's very elusive. It's very actually elusive is probably not quite the right word. It's very much a internal house. It's secretive. It's parts of the chart that may be hidden here. So if someone has an eighth house sun, a lot of the time you may not see that in its full expression because they hide a lot or it's concealed. I would say it's kind of that house that conceals things. The eighth house also rules money and merging of money together. So as the second house is all about, our tangible physical possessions, the eighth house is our shared resources and bringing together. So it's like, when you marry someone and you merge your resources together, your money, you have joint bank accounts, etc., etc. That's what the eighth house rules. It also rules taxes. Now the ninth house rules Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules the ninth house, and the ninth house theme is all around beliefs, truth, searching for higher purpose, higher meaning. Our spiritual philosophies, religion is ruled here as well. We also have long distance travel, culture. So if you have a ninth house activation, you may feel called to go and study abroad. You may want to go and pick up a university degree. You may want to go on an overseas long distance trip for quite an extended period of time. That is what the ninth house rules. The 10th house is our public house. Now, this is ruled by Capricorn. And so it's the house that we are known for, like what we're known for. So what we're seen as, what we're known for, it's our public display. So everything in the 10th house is publicly lit up. It's our status in the world, how we view ourselves in the world, how we're viewed in the world. The 10th house also rules part of our work, our career. It's a really heavy work and career house. It's also another leadership house. So it's where you also have your hold and have your authority. So for someone like me, and this is, you can't make this stuff up. The reason why I'm so passionate about what I do is I have my sun in the 10th house, which is about being seen, being in that leadership position and being in my power and authority. And I am so passionate about inspiring and empowering others to step up into those areas for themselves. So my 10th house is ruled by Taurus. And so I throw in those Taurian traits as well. So that's how you can kind of start to look at a chart, for instance, when we start to break it down. And I think after this, I'm going to go through the little transits, and then I'm going to actually pull up my chart, and I'm going to break down a few things because I know my chart really well. And yeah, I can just talk you through some of the things you can actually work with and discover looking at your astrology chart and the power that this holds. Now, moving right along to the 11th house. The 11th house is the house of community. It's the house of goals, dreams, and aspirations. It's the house of humanitarianism and activism. It's the house of uniqueness and how you are uniquely expressing yourself in a more community-focused way. So not your real self-expression, but how you're expressing within your communities. And this house is ruled by Aquarius, and Aquarius is all about the uniqueness, the quirkiness. It's about doing things in your own way. The 12th house, now this 12th house is quite an elusive house. It's ruled by Pisces, and it's really this hidden kind of part of the chart. It's where we go to retreat. It's where we need to rest, restore. And when you have a 12th house activation, it might be the time where you feel like you need to go really hermit. You need to retreat. You need to pull back from social outings. You need to go really within and really internal. It's also the house that rules beyond the physical realm. So it's the house that, you know, has access to different spiritual realms. So it's your, you know, if you've got a 12th house sun or a 12th house moon, like you're probably very, very psychic, for instance. And things like that can play out within the 12th house. And it's the house of secrets and, you know, hidden truths or things that may not be revealed to you in until something activates it. So if a sun comes along in the 12th house, it's going to then be like, oh, illuminate whatever is hiding in the shadows. So it's a really interesting house. It's also this house rules institutions, mental health as well is really important with this house. People who have really tough 12th house placements may suffer from mental health problems as well. And, you know, throughout different parts and different times of where different planets and things are activating this can mean that their mental health may be a little less stable or what have you. So that's the each of the houses and what they represent. Now, let's get into something really fun. So up here, we're going to just go up to this little button that says with transits. Now I'm going to press that and we're going to see what happens on the outside of this wheel. So as you can see now, this is the current planets exactly as they are today. So as I look at this, so I'm just going to get rid of this little add thing so we can see more of that chart. So as we can see here, the sun is currently in Sagittarius, Mars is currently in Sagittarius, Mercury is currently in Sagittarius, Pluto is currently in Capricorn, and Pluto moves very, very slowly, and Saturn also moves quite slowly. It stays in a sign for 2.5 years, as does Neptune. Neptune is a very slow-moving planet. Chiron, the North Node in Aries. Jupiter is currently in Taurus. Uranus is currently in Taurus. The Moon is the fastest-moving planet, and that moves every 2.5 days. So currently the Moon is still in Gemini, as at whatever time I put this at for the 28th of November. And then, you know, tomorrow that's going to move into Cancer, and then the next 2 days going to move into Leo. So that moves really quickly. Venus is over here. She's in Libra. And yeah, that's all of the current planets right now. So what we can do, we can see for this particular chart that I've made up, I guess the easiest one to track for the purpose of this, because you can go so deep, but without really understanding or knowing the meanings of too many other things, I'm just going to show you how to track the moon. So the moon is here. So for this person, the moon is activating their 7th house. Now, you can literally track the moon and see every 2.5 days if you wanted to. But because the moon moves so quickly, we're kind of, you know, we have those really short transits or short bursts of energy and activations of each part of our chart. But what I would suggest you do is to track the new moons and the full moons. So when you know there's a new moon coming up, you can see what date that is. You can actually put that direct date in so you can see when it's coming up. If you don't do this, this will already be preset at the time in which you have just logged on. So you can go back to this chart selection. I'm going to show you how you can actually look. So you might go, oh, actually, I want to do it for the, let's say what's happening on Christmas Day. It will tell you the transits that are happening on Christmas Day. And so if you know a moon's falling on, say, the 25th of December, you can then do that and then go view transits. And then you can go, oh, okay, funny that the moon is actually still in Gemini on the 25th of December. So that's probably a poor example to use there. But yeah, that's really cool that we've now had, you can see a few of the planets have moved. So like Venus was in Libra, she's now moved into Scorpio, and the sun's now moved into Capricorn. So there's some changes that have taken place, and you can just see the different activations. So yeah, for Christmas Day, this particular chart, they're going to have a strong focus on their relationships, their one-to-one relationships, their really close relationships. And so as well, they're going to start to have the sun come past their second house, which is activating and illuminating. The sun illuminates or activates that part of the chart. Now, they already have very strong Capricornian energies here. So they're going to be really familiar with this, and they're going to feel really at home with this energy. Say, for instance, when the sun comes, say, over to the other end of the spectrum, when some of these empty houses, that's where people really get affected by some moons and some sun activations or different parts of the year as the sun moves into that, because it's unfamiliar energy. It's not something that we naturally have access to or we're familiar with. So for me, like when there's lots of watery activity, I don't have much water in my chart. So when there's a big water moon, I really feel that. I feel the emotions because I'm not normally comfortable with that energy. So it brings up a discomfort within me. So I'm going to bring up my chart. Okay, so as you can see, like my chart is a little different. I have, I guess, the biggest things to know as soon as you pull up the chart. Whoops, sorry, I don't know what went there. I don't want to order a chart. The biggest things that you can firstly focus on, oh my gosh, these ads, go away, are your sun, your moon, and your rising. So as you can see here, my rising is here, and that is in Leo. So I'm a Leo rising. The sun is in Taurus, and that is in my 10th house. And my moon is in Sagittarius, and that is in the 5th house. So you can see right now, as at whatever date we set this for, which will tell you here, whichever date you set it for, if you're looking at the transits, it will tell you here. And again, you can go back to that chart selection to change that. So let's just put, I don't even know, let's just go with the 29th of November and go with that and see what comes up for me on that day. And with the transits, okay, so you can see the moon is still currently in Gemini. It's about to move into Cancer at some point later on this day. And the sun is here in Sagittarius, so it's activating my 5th house. So my moon is being activated. I'm feeling really comfortable in this energy because I have that moon energy within me. So the moon represents our emotions, how we view the world from our inside lens outwardly. So it's our emotions, it's our subconscious, it's all things related to how we process things internally and our subconscious programs too. So that's what the moon represents. The sun is like our outward expression and personality, and the rising is that the mask or the first point of contact that people come with us. So knowing those three is super powerful. And then obviously you're so much more than your sun, your moon, and your rising. You also have so many different placements here. And then these lines are all what we call aspects. And these aspects are where we can find our gifts and where we may find struggles in our lives and areas that we need to work on. So for me, a really massive struggle, and you can see, so the red is like the challenging aspects. The blue is the more free-flowing energy. So for me, I really struggle with balance of indulgence and overindulgence because Venus and Jupiter are opposing each other. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and abundance, and Venus is the planet of beauty, indulgence, pleasure, abundance, love, money, finances. And so I have and I'm aware of this, a real tendency to, be really overindulgent at times, or, not being as indulgent or withholding that from myself. I can go from one extreme to the other because it's a pulling, opposing energy. And the other thing for me, which is again, not ideal, but again, I know this about myself, so I'm able to work with it and understand that. This is happening in Venus. My Venus is happening in my 9th house of Aries. And so what that means for me is that I'm really quite impulsive when I spend. And when I spend big. So those are some things that I'm definitely aware of and that I just need to really kind of sit on and be like, is this something that I need right now? And just think through, you know, obviously this is not the same for everybody. Everyone has different Venus placements, different Jupiter, et cetera, et cetera. But that's just one thing that I am aware of and know that, yeah, how to navigate that. So yeah, there's a lot of, as you can see here, another opposing energy is my sun to Pluto. Now, this is quite deep. Having my Pluto here opposing my sun is really about, I have this ability to transform, go through deaths, rebirths, and really recreate myself constantly. And I'm always struggling for, you know, is there enough transformation in my life? I'm always feel like I'm that person that's always doing the work. I'm really comfortable in that. I'm really comfortable in tearing things down and starting afresh and letting things die and starting new things. So that's another little part that is really cool. It's part of my chart. Obviously, this is not happening for everybody, and everybody has their own quirks and things, and that is the beauty of actually getting your chart read by an astrologer, so they can interpret everything together. Because it's one thing to just say, I'm a Leo rising, I'm a Taurus sun, and a Sagittarius moon, but there is so much more at play in my chart, and there's so much more things that I need to be aware of when it comes to that. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, don't worry, astrology is quite complex. I hope I've broken it down enough for you to at least kind of get an understanding on how to track certain things with the moon. And then I guess the other thing is you can literally just kind of Google, you know, the moon's in my 7th house. What does that mean? And there's some really cool things there. Otherwise, reach out, shoot me a message, ask me. I'm over on Instagram. I love it when people, ask me what's going on, or, you know, what is a moon activating this house or whatever. I'm totally happy for any of those questions as well. But I really wanted to keep this really practical, something that you can walk away taking like, fuck yeah, I am so empowered. I can then now go and look and see how this is affecting me personally. And yeah, it's just so much power and knowing and having that knowledge at your fingertips to go and do this for yourself. It's super empowering, and it might set you off on a journey to really start to, start looking at your chart. I mean, I started off as self-taught, and I realized quite quickly that it's very complex. And then I went off and did some, with some other astrologers, did some courses, level 1, 2, and 3. And so then I've still continued on and done my own studies as well. It's something that you can be a forever student. And yeah, I guess that is a really strong energy in my chart, having a 9th house Venus. And 9th house is all about that, you know, longing for study and learning. And I also have that house, which is normally naturally ruled by Sagittarius. I have a Sagittarius moon. So I'm a forever researcher, studier, learner. I always want to know all of the things, and I want to know them really well. So that's me. So I hope that you get exactly what you need from this. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. And yeah, always reach out if you've got any questions or anything else. And yeah, I'll make sure that you also have the accompanying PDF with this. Hopefully we can make that happen. All right, beauties. Thank you. I'm just going to stop this share.